Good morning, Chicago and the rest of the world. Welcome to the Money Sex Gen X podcast. My name is Eric McLeod, the host with the most, the man with the plan, the Scotty Pippen podcast pimpin'. And as I always say, I am never alone in the podcasting space. I got my brother from another here. My partner in podcasting, he is an AI mogul in the making.
Yeah, man.
You got to go check out his Planet AI business planning software. He is the Rashid Wallace.
Wow.
Podcast knowledge, my homie, my brother, Big Stu.
Bo, liquor shot. What's going on, E-Money?
What's up, my brother? Hey, man, this is the season finale of season 7.
Yeah, man.
Look, been out here for a while now. We put in a lot of work. How are you feeling about this show, man?
I'm feeling super excited, motivated, and inspired about today's topic.
All right. So we got a good one. Today's episode is an important one for us too. It's called Capital for the Culture, Crowdfunding Essentials for Black Entrepreneurs. Yeah. All right. So, Stu, let's tell the people a little bit about why we decided to do this episode and why we think it's super important, crowdfunding.
Yeah. Well, we're entrepreneurs, small business owners, and we're constantly looking for ways to raise money for our ventures. And sometimes I think we can get stifled by thinking that we don't have access to the money. And we overlook this idea of asking strangers for money. But it seems to work out for some. And I don't even think that we're even in the game of asking. And I thought it might be important. You thought it might be important. We agreed that it would be important to share using crowdfunding as a potential resource to raising money.
All right. That is perfectly my understanding as well. So we got to stop using our own money, right? I mean, it's just something at a certain point of entrepreneurship. It's just a mindset shift. But let's talk about what crowdfunding actually is, Stu. Here's the formal definition that we always give, and then we'll break it down. But it really, at its core, it's raising small amounts of capital from a large number of individuals to finance a new business venture. And then the other piece is sometimes people use crowdfunding to fund funerals, not-for-profit programming, tuition. And I will even go as far as to say this, Stu, and please hit back if you don't agree with this. But when we go to church and there are donations made during the service, I would say that is a form of crowdfunding.
100%.
All right. So we've probably already experienced crowdfunding in some form or fashion. Let's get into some actual factuals here. They say that the average success rate of any crowdfunding campaign is 22.4%. And when they say success, it's like if you said you wanted to raise 100,000, you raised that 100,000 or more. Now, video seems to be a key component, Stu, of a crowdfunding campaign. The research says that if you have a video as part of your campaign, you'll earn 105% of your funding versus those that don't have a video.
Okay.
So that was an interesting stat. And the other one I want to bring out is if a campaign raises 30% of its goal within the first week, it's more likely to get all of the funding that they were seeking.
Wow. Those statistics, I think are a bit... they're good to me, but they might be a little misleading to those who aren't savvy about statistics. I know in baseball, for example, if you are a batter and you're hitting the ball 22% of the time, you're probably the highest paid or of the highest paid baseball players in the league.
Right.
So I don't want people to say, 22%, that's not that high. I want you to look at it as like, man, that's pretty significant. Look at it the other way. And then The fact that if you add video,
Mm-hmm.
there's you increase more than 100% chance that you will get more funding. I think that's super important. As I talk to a lot of people, it's hard for them to fathom anything over 100%. And so know that if it says 105%, that there's a great chance that you will raise more money by using video with your crowdfunding campaign. And I think it's important, E, that you talk to the people, share with them, like, what's the difference between crowdfunding in church and then this crowdfunding for your business type stuff? What's that all about?
No doubt. Well, I want to piggyback off your point quickly too. You're right, because think about 3-point shooters in the NBA. If somebody's shooting like 38%, they're a heck of a 3-point shooter, right? You think, oh, only 38%. So that's a great point that you raised. And then the last thing I want to say is this: also keep in mind that $17.2 billion is generated annually in North America through crowdfunding.
Wow.
And it went up 33.7% last year. And there were 6 million crowdfunding campaigns through worldwide. So what is the difference between this and church, for example? Well, church is global as well, but this is specific. And I actually think it's more the same than different, actually, because the way that I look at a well-run church is it's a business. And that pastor is approaching it that way. They're not necessarily doing it for a business purpose. It's for the purpose of the congregation, obviously. But the similarity is that they're getting small amounts of money from the people who come to the church for a mission-driven purpose. And it's the same thing with us as small business. And I'm talking really a lot to the small business owners today. Right. So we know all the big tech companies or tech startups. We know that they do crowdfunding and they raise millions of dollars. And that's cool. We see it in the paper. We see it in different articles and all that. But we're talking about the small business owner. We're talking about the person that's got a 1 to 3 person business. You know, you might be doing a lot of revenue. You're doing really good, but you're really using a lot of your own money to fund your venture, or you're getting loans. Right? You got loans, lines of credit, all this different stuff. And so we're talking about letting the public assist you in building your venture.
Yeah. And I think the only difference that I would note is with the church example, these are people who are probably more likely already familiar with you. So I would imagine that if they have a building campaign, right, they're exceeding their 22% success rate versus if I'm going through one of these crowdfunding platforms, I'm talking to strangers. And that's probably why that video is so important, to create a connection, because these people don't know me or might not know you, the business owner, and they want to find a connection between the money that they have to donate and your cause or whatever it is that you're building. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that point. Yes. And I feel like what I'm learning about crowdfunding, Stu, is that it really is a good it's a good opportunity to help people get to know you better over time. So like you said, the pastor has done a good job they formed this relationship with the people in the congregation. So they're like, hey, you need $1 million. We're going to go in our pocket. We can do the same thing with crowdfunding, because a lot of crowdfunding campaigns is what I found. They start with friends and family.
Okay. Absolutely. Makes sense.
Start with friends and family. And then, like you said, they work their way out to the cold audience. Absolutely. But that first couple of $1,000 or that first $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, a lot of times it comes from friends and family, if you have a good brand or reputation with your friends and family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's super important. If your friends and family, if you can't get money from friends and family, I think we need to have another conversation. We need to start with a different conversation. So
true indeed. All right, so let's talk about this. So originally I thought there were 3 types of crowdfunding, and I want to get your thoughts on this, but I found out there are 4. And maybe somebody out there has 5 or 6, but these are the ones that I came up with. One is rewards-based crowdfunding, and we'll talk about that a little more in a second. Donation-based, so that's the church example. debt-based,
Mm.
debt-based, and then we have equity-based.
Mm.
Did I miss any?
Reward,
Reward, donation, debt, equity.
donation, debt, and equity.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay.
In this
All right.
moment, I can't think of anything that you may have missed, but
Okay.
this is a new. I'm familiar with crowdfunding, crowdsourcing,
Mm-hmm.
but I must admit, Stu's moment of transparency. I've never launched one myself.
Gotcha.
Well, I know we're going to talk about that in a minute as well, but
Yeah.
sounds like you're right. It makes sense to me.
Okay.
Those
Yeah,
four.
let's talk about the different types real quick, and then I want to know which type you are going to launch, because you told me privately that you were going to do that, and I think we're going to challenge each other. That was a private challenge, but we're making it public. So I also want to ask myself, okay, if you're going to do this challenge with Stu, which one are you going to do? So we got the reward base. Now here's one that I did donate to. I donated to a crowdfunding campaign or contributed to CurlMix.
Yeah, I did as well during the pandemic. Yes.
Yep. So I kind of look at that one right now as kind of a reward base, because you can get discounts, you get T-shirts, different swag and all of that. As they move along through the process, it'll turn into something else. But that's just one that I feel is kind of reward based.
Now, but with that one, I know that's reward. We did get T-shirts. Well, I got a T-shirt.
Yep.
But I think that's going to wind up being equity too, don't we? Didn't we sign up for? Did we get some equity part of it as well? Like, isn't there?
Yeah, you're right. It's going to turn into that later.
Yeah.
So, with my understanding, it'll turn into that when they go public.
When they go public, yeah, and that could be, that's a whole nother conversation. That could be still 10 years from now. It could be 20 years from now. It could be 5 years from now. We don't know
if it happens at all. I mean, I'm hopeful that it
will.
Will. I'm hopeful that it will, because the company's still growing. But yeah, or we could get cashed out.
We could get cashed out.
So either or. So yes, so that's a good comment, Stu, because again, it could start off as one type of campaign, and then your benefit could change later on.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't put CurlMix in a gift or reward. Okay. I think the T-shirt was just, hey, here's, because we got into it was like, you can be a part of this company. Like that was for me. It wasn't the T-shirt. It was like the opportunity, and they were saying you can cash out with us when we get to where we're trying to go. So I see that as more equity based.
Okay, I respect that. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to keep reward, because they made it clear that that event may not ever happen. And in the meantime, I'm getting things that I consider rewards. Now I could have my mindset could be off about that.
Makes sense.
We came into it thinking we might not get this money back.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I'm looking at it like that, Stu. And I'm not really disagreeing with you. I'm just taking a different mentality.
Sure, let's go. Let's
do it. Because a lot of times you get a schedule when you're getting your money back. So it's like, you put in the money today, we're going to hit you back in 24 months at this percentage rate. Boom.
Yeah. And then I could even argue that CurlMix possibly could even be just a donation.
It could be. And if you're listening out there, don't take this as we're talking negative about CurlMix, because we've been inspired by them. This is just the models that are out there.
Yeah, no. And yeah, not at all. No, the fact that we're even mentioning their name on this show should be proof positive that we support the brand and believe in the brand.
Absolutely.
We're not going to mention anybody's name on here who we're not going to support or stand by.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, this is all love to CurlMix. Hopefully they use this clip maybe in some of their marketing. But at any rate, we digress. Rewards based. You donate, you get a gift or something, T-shirt, mug, hat, sticker, postcard, sign something, a book, advanced copy. That would be considered a rewards based.
Absolutely.
Crowdfunding campaign. Okay.
Yep. And then you got the donation based one that we talked about. So you're donating to something bigger than yourself.
You're not expecting anything in return.
Nothing in return, but you do want to see what it is that you're donating to come to fruition, right?
Okay.
So you want to do the funeral. I want to see the funeral happen. You want to do the building, whatever it is, it needs to happen, right?
Surgery. I've seen them for surgeries.
Surgery.
I've seen them for auto repairs.
Yep.
I've seen the donations for everything.
Yep. Now then you got debt-based crowdfunding.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Okay, so I'm actually working on a project in Chicago where a real estate fund is being created. And this would be a great example. So you contribute to the fund, and basically what it's saying is once you contribute, then you're going to get your money back at a specific return. So say the return is 5%. So I give $10,000 and I'm going to get a note saying you're going to get your $10,000 back in 1 year at 5% return. It's not equity because we're paying it, it's being paid back, and you're getting a very specific interest rate and you're getting a note.
Okay.
Note is being a promise to pay. Promise to pay.
It's almost
so that's debt-based.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I was going to confuse the people. I was about to confuse them because do you use note and bond in this interchangeably? Not necessarily, huh?
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah. A bond is more government.
Yeah. Same concept, though. Same concept.
Okay.
You're giving money to an entity, and
So
you're going to give it back.
Yeah.
The terms are set.
Is there and then so the note is the promise, like no matter, like you're going to get your money back. This is not, we're not saying there's a chance you might not get, we're promising to give you your money back.
Right. And if you don't, then there's a breach of contract. And I'll use a simple example here. When you buy a piece of real estate and you get a loan from a bank, you have to sign a note and you have to sign a mortgage. Now, I hope I'm not confusing. I'm going to keep this super simple, but the two documents are both important because the note says, I promise to pay this $500,000 back, right? My name is Eric. I'm promising to pay it back. But then you have a mortgage which says, I'm going to put up the property as collateral.
In case I don't pay it back.
You get your property back. You get the property back. Or you can take the property as the bank. Put it like that. Okay, so yeah, notice this, that we need something to say Stu's going to pay the money, right? And we need the terms. We need to know how much you're paying back and when.
And when. And when does this expire? When does this due?
Absolutely. Okay. So that can be attractive to an investor. I'd like to know that. Okay. And I mean, hey, I know there's times where it doesn't work out, but then you've breached the contract and then the person can take other measures to try to recoup their loss.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Then we got the last one here, which is equity-based. This one is cool, but you got to be careful with this one because sometimes people give up too much equity.
Yeah. This again, I want to listen to all of our listeners, no matter the age. I really want to encourage you, if no other, to go back to basic math classes. And the only thing I want you to master, my wish for you listeners, is just to master addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then shore up converting decimals to percentages and percentages to decimals. Which is still multiplication and division. Like, please, you owe it to yourself to understand fractions, which is division, and multiplication. You owe it to yourself because, to Eric's point, people out here trying to give away 5 and 10% equity, and you look up and you ain't in control of your business no more. There are small amounts of equity, 0.001% equity, 0.01, 0.1, right? We're not even talking about a full percentage of equity at some points. And I want you to understand, like, 0.001% of $100 million is considerable. It can be considerable or more. Now, if you're only talking about you got $1,000 or you do $100,000 a year and your return is 0.001%, okay, maybe not so much. But that's part of a larger conversation too, when you start to understand giving up too much equity and speaking in percentages and what equity is and how you ensure that if you desire to remain in a controlling position of your business, you don't give up the leverage of ownership by giving up too much equity. I hope I didn't confuse the people, E.
I doubt it. That was a very good piece of advice about math, and I like that because it's what's the practical applications of this stuff we learn in school. But
Yeah,
here's one. You might be sitting in class saying, you know what, I'm gonna start my own business. Well, you gotta understand these simple pieces of math because yes, and it happens every day. People will look up, like Stu said, and they've given away 80% of their company.
Oh, man.
So now you're basically an employee again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't want that to happen. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. And I want to talk about this too, Stu. If we think about this in the simplest terms, we're talking about something called OPM.
Love it. I love it.
OPM. And I learned this too late. I'm always talking about what I learned too late, but it's a long list of stuff. And this is one of them. Other people's money.
Amen.
Use other people's money to do stuff. Use other people's money to do real estate. Why go on your bank account and use all your money to buy a property when you can leverage an investor's money or a bank's money?
Yeah.
Use other people's money to do anything that you're trying to do. And I understand that sounds easy, but your goal should be to leverage other people's resources, whether it's money, time, all that stuff. And that's a whole different episode. But just remember OPM.
Yeah, I used to call that the first rule of business is OPM.
OPM.
Don't use your own money. Use other people's money. I love it.
Yep.
Glad you brought that up.
No doubt. Hey, if you're just joining us, this is Capital for the Culture, crowdfunding essentials for Black entrepreneurs. But guess what? This can apply to anybody. We're not the only ones who are need to leverage capital. Now, let's talk about the pros and cons. Everything's got a pro and a con, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Pros, Stu, you can build an engaged audience, especially if you got the video. No credit score, so you're not going to the bank. They're not getting into all that. Raising money quickly, ability to maintain equity if you follow what Stu was saying. You can do that. Yeah. You may not face repayments or interest fees, especially if you're doing reward or donation based. None of that applies. Campaign, I like this one. Campaigns can double as marketing.
Yeah, man, I love it. Just let people know what you're doing.
Yep. Funding comes from multiple investors, so you're not just dependent on one person or group, and gathering feedback from supporters. So here's what I plan to do. Once I put my campaign out there, Stu, and you don't want to donate, I'm going to ask you why.
Why not?
Or I should say you don't want to invest, because I don't think I'm going to do donation based, but I'm going to ask you,
equity.
Give me some feedback. What was it that made you feel shaky about giving me $10,000?
What didn't you like?
What didn't you like? Now, cons here quickly. You may not raise as much as series funding or loans. Okay. Series funding is when you have these tech companies and they do multiple rounds of fundraising. So they're doing it multiple times and they raise a lot of money, mainly because they're doing it multiple times and they get a chance to get better in each series.
Sure.
Or loans, right? A loan, they tell you how much you can get. You got to rock out with whatever they're going to give you. Your idea is open to the public. So you got to make sure your intellectual property is right and exact so somebody doesn't come and steal your idea if there's something that needs to be patented or trademarked, et cetera, et cetera. Number 3, I haven't really experienced this. I want to talk with Stu about this. This is saying that crowdfunding isn't always trusted by supporters. Have you seen that?
Yeah, of course.
Really?
You don't know what people, you really don't know what people are doing. People out here scamming, scamming is at an all-time high. And so I could see the hesitation in the marketplace. I could see the, people are a little leery. Who are these people? But that goes back to the trust piece. That goes back to maybe you have that video. I mean, if you don't have that video, I can't see your face or hear your voice or feel your sincerity.
Mhm.
And yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, that makes sense to me too. Now that you've explained it, yeah. I mean, you see some campaigns, and you're like, "What is this? Who is this person?" Okay.
Mhm.
Number four, they say a con is that it takes a little more work than just pitching investors. I don't necessarily know what's meant by this, but I guess they're saying it takes more work to do a campaign and to just contact people and pitch them.
I
I
would.
don't agree with that one. I feel like it's the opposite. What
I
do you
don't know. I'm thinking. So this goes back to the 22% success rate stat.
think? Mm-hmm.
Like there are a lot of psychological factors that you need to consider, I would imagine, to launch a successful campaign. Now, 22% is good in some industries, but you do understand, I mean, it's 22% is 22%. So there's 78% chance that you might not reach your funding goal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the 22% is significant enough to go for it, to not go for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I think when you have to think about what's going in your description, the language, the clothes you wear, how you sound, and you get one shot at this pretty much. You don't necessarily get a chance to hear from the people that you're pitching to their objections, right? They just kind of scrolling by. And then if you're pitching, you have a captive audience for that moment. Whereas if you're on a crowdfunding platform, you're in competition with the other 6 million people that are vying for those dollars as well.
Hmm.
And so I could see why more people are not doing crowdfunding, because I could see it being challenging work, to say the least. Which look at us. Neither one of us have even launched a campaign yet. And we're in the mix.
But for us, I feel like it's not. It's in this. I think this is good. We're talking about this. It's not. I'm not doing it because I think it's challenging. Well, it is a challenge in a sense. I think
Yeah.
the fear of the feedback might be the challenge. Because if you're, to your point, if you're pitching in private, they say no, it's cool, but you're pitching in front of 6 million people, that's different. So
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And I would say the challenge is like, look, if if we both, I think subconsciously we both realize, like, man, this is some work and it's a little intimidating and we got to get to it. We got to push past it. I can see that this is more difficult than getting ready to pitch to a private, an angel, or well, not an angel, but a private investor or a group of private investors are going on. I could see this, and we're going to actually put this to the test here shortly, as Eric and I have challenged each other with some dates. I think we need to revisit our dates, though, E-Money. I think we really
Yes,
revisit our dates, but
we do need to do that, and we got to continue to fight through that fear.
yeah,
There's some deep seated, and you know what? When
yeah,
people say that they're afraid, it's nothing wrong with admitting that you have a fear. I feel like when you allow it to stop you, that's the
yeah.
issue. But we have, and I don't want to speak for Stu, but I know I have some kind of fear somewhere, and maybe it is about the amount of work or just the fear of failing in public. I don't know, but I'm going to face it, man. I'm going to face it.
Yeah, I'm going to face it too. And actually, to be quite honest, I don't even see it as being as potentially not being successful in public. I mean, yeah, who's going to know? Who's going to know that we didn't reach? I mean, nobody's going to know. I'm not going to run into somebody at the bar or at the bank or wherever I'm at, and they say, "Oh, I saw your campaign didn't make it." I don't imagine that's going to be a thing.
Right.
I think I'm overthinking the process.
Okay.
That's what's slowing me down. I'm overthinking what needs to go into it. The video, right? What do I say? Just What's my angle? Being forced to sit down to, and that I see everything I'm about to say or thought I was about to say is like, it doesn't even make sense. We just need to get to it, brother. It don't even make sense.
I hear you. We got to do it. And this episode is going to help us do it. It's going to help us do it.
If for some reason we fall into that 78%, to your point, we go at it again.
Yeah.
Go at it again. Learn from it. Go at it again. Do it again.
Right.
Because that is
like if once I do it the first time, Stu, no matter what happens, I'm good on the next round.
Absolutely.
I do know that. I'll be okay after the first round,
now,
time.
I've heard and I've seen, and this is where you got, and I'm wondering, are you going to talk about the different potential platforms?
Yes, I am going to talk about
because
that. And I also want us to talk about which one we think we're going to land on when we do our campaign, which type.
Sure.
So let's get into that now. Well, let me finish this up quickly. So cons, I think it's important for people to notice. So we talked about it might not be as much work, or it could be more work than pitching investors privately. You are going to have to pay platform fees, part of the game. You're using their infrastructure. There are some federal regulations that you need to be aware of. So check those out. Not hard to find. Failure is highly visible. That's what I think I'm dealing with in terms of my mindset. And again, the last one, you could be offering up equity to too many people. So that just depends on which type you decide to do. All right, let's go to the platform. So a couple of them. So for women, there's one called I Fund Women. You might want to check into Indiegogo. I've heard a lot about. You can check that out. Fund Black Founders. So this one is a crowdfunding platform specifically for Black founders. And here's what I would encourage people to do, because I'm kind of doing this now. Find the platform that you feel comfortable with. There's a lot of them, but find the one that you think you might like. Seed Invest is another one. You can Google all these and find them. Main Invest is another one. And here's the one that you probably heard about, Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Kickstarter. So those are just a few. You can easily Google crowdfunding sites and find the one that you think you'll be comfortable with raising capital on.
I think I'm gonna go. My first one is going to be with Kickstarter.
Kickstarter, okay. Why is that?
Because they have the brand. They've been at it the longest from what I just heard on that list. They're more reputable. They have a captive audience of people who are constantly maybe going on there looking for the next big thing or something that they can support. They have the traction. My first one, I'm going to go with something tried and true, the Kickstarter of funding campaigns.
Okay. I might do the same, but I want to ask you about yours. What are you, if you're willing to share this, what are you crowdfunding for?
I'm going to crowdfund for Pool, music streaming platform for new and emerging artists that helps them to identify a new audience and helps music enthusiasts find new music in a very private, exclusive way.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
What about you? What are you going to crowdfund for?
So I have been quietly turning my wealth management company into a digital platform. So now we have comprehensive financial literacy courses. We got a stock course that people are really enjoying. And so I want to continue to create financial tech type offerings. And so I'm going to do something around that. Getting more people financially literate, but not just literate, using it to become a millionaire, build generational wealth, all the stuff that we talk about all the time, but using technology to speed it up. Speed up the process.
The velocity of money.
Yeah. And then one day, Stu, I want to do, so I'm working on a couple of projects for clients where they're doing these funds, real estate specific funds. I'd like to do a real estate fund or some type of fund for a specific audience, entrepreneurship audience at some point.
So as we learn this, we'll be reporting back to you all in future seasons and episodes. But I would imagine, E-Money, one of the ways that we can take full advantage and leverage the system is to operate a campaign on multiple platforms.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Why not? I like
Why
that.
not, right? Yeah, it becomes a strategy. This is a fundraising strategy.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
And what better way to find out which one you like?
try a couple, try a few.
Try a couple of them. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Stu always dropping them jewels. I hope you all really take that one because that's a good one. Why do on one platform when you can do several?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's important to note. I don't know if you had this in your notes. I want everybody to be careful. There's some platforms where it's like all or nothing. If you don't hit your fundraising goal, you get nothing.
Wow.
Versus there's some platforms that'll let you get whatever you raise.
Okay.
But there are a couple of platforms out there. And I have to look. I think and one may be Kickstarter. Kickstarter, I believe, is an all or nothing platform.
Okay.
And so if you're raising for $10,000 and you get 9,500, you get nothing.
So in that situation, do the investors get their money back?
Yeah, like the money is kind of put up and it doesn't close until the campaign ends. That's what happened with CurlMix. Like the money they like took the money out, but they didn't really take it out until the campaign ended.
Right.
And then they were like, "Hey, we need that money. Like, don't forget to clear that. There's money coming out. Be careful, So be on the lookout for that too, because that can be. I've heard people talk about it. They got so close, and they were kind of frustrated because they thought they were going to be there, and they didn't get anything. But then there are other campaigns that will let you take whatever you raise. So if you got 10,000, you raise 3,000, you get to 3,000. Right. So,
you know what, Stu? I actually feel like that's probably that might be the top take on this whole show because you really do have to understand that. Like that could be and I'm gonna tell you something. When you said that, I was thinking, I wouldn't want to do that, but maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that on one of them because it lets the other people know if this dude doesn't gain traction, we're not even going to release the funds. My funds will come back to me. So he's got to be successful and other people have to buy into this. It kind of gives validity to your own investment decision.
absolutely.
Like, okay, I'm not alone. If this thing don't hit 100,000, I'm getting my money back.
That's right.
So that could work to our advantage. I'm actually kind of digging that the more that I think about it.
That's right. That's right.
I like that. Okay. All right. So, Stu, we've had a really nice conversation about crowdfunding. Let's kind of wrap this up for the listeners.
Sure.
What are your takeaways on this subject here?
There's money out there. You got to go find it. And there are technologies and platforms that make it easier for you to go find the money that you need to do what it is that you want to do in your business. That's my takeaway.
All right. And I want to thank you, sir. You dropped a lot of fantastic insights on this subject today. We got to make sure we get some clips of those and other stuff. But here's what I'm going to do. We're trying to get better at our show notes. So I'm going to go in and try to do show notes that tell you the platforms that Stu was talking about that is all or nothing and the ones that aren't. Because I feel like that's super important.
Okay.
My takeaway is I need to continue to expand my mindset. I do business planning work. I'm always telling my clients to consider a crowdfunding campaign. I want to tell them that I've actually done a crowdfunding campaign. OPM, let's leverage other people's money. Let's get a lot of money let's get small amounts of money from a lot of different people. It keeps the risk down and use this as a way to grow and build and let our children see us using other people's money to build and not always our own. All right.
Amen.
So this has been this is the conclusion of season 7 of Money Sex Gen X. I want to let you all know This is about amplifying Black Gen X voices. We're going to continue to do that. We are in 63 countries, Stu, and 543 cities. And when I say that, what I'm saying is people are streaming our content across the globe, which is excellent. And we want to thank all of our listeners out there, and we will see you in season 8. Until then, peace.
Peace.